Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. Good afternoon, folks. So this topic is going to be on what is coming new in WSO2 Integrator, but I take an opportunity to define what is WSO2 Integrator as well. We are doing lots of changes into the product. At the same time, set the scope of the product so that the remaining sessions, so we have 5 more sessions, they will touch upon various parts of whatever I am covering, right? So at integration, at its core is just connecting systems, connecting anything, all right? But then that is very tactical view of the integration. So why people needs integration is because in order to have a unique digital experience, or in order to have a unique competitive advantage, you need to have a system which you can wire them as fast as possible or mold them as fast as possible by combining multiple pieces. And in order for you to be that much agile, you need to have all the systems connected together and be available as building blocks. So from a strategy, from a company strategy point of view, every company have their own strategies, but for them to be successful on their strategy, they have to be competitive against their competitors. And how fast you can react to the world is define the success of your strategy. And what makes that possible is the integration. So from, if you look at any of the organizations, they often have lots of applications. We are talking about an IT industry up to like last 50, 60 years. They already have tons of applications. They also have lots of data in various places, either databases or data warehouses or data lake, whatnot. And also with the event-driven integrations or event-driven architecture and so on, there are lots of events going here and there, right? So at its core, what integration does is connecting the applications, data, and events together so that you can build your applications on top of that. But with the recent AI, then AI is also coming into the mix, right? And then AI is used as 2 main areas. One is AI for integration, where when you are creating an integration or when you are creating your integrations with various systems, so you can use AI as a way of accelerating the creation of the integrations. That is the side we call it as AI for integration. And then also, in order to build intelligence experiences or intelligent integrations inside your organization, you might have to integrate with AI services like LLMs or knowledge bases or whatnot. So in order to do that, you need some first-class support from the integration platform in order to integrate with various AI services and so on. So that is the integration for AI. I guess Shafrin will cover more details onto the AI side of integrator in the remaining session. So WSO2 Integrator covers several integration challenges. So I'll go one by one and define what do we mean by each of these particular items. So first item is called automation. So let's say if you want to, on a periodic basis, every night, every midnight, 12 o'clock, you want to take some data from Salesforce and send it into a spreadsheet and send an email. That is a periodic task. Those are kind of automations you can do by using the WSO2 Integrator. Again, the integration is triggered either by using a timer or you can manually trigger as well. But when the integration is triggered, it can go and pull data from various places. It can be your applications, it can be your message broker, like RabbitMQ or ActiveMQ or Kafka, or it can be from a file system where you are reading a file and doing some processing and sending, or it can be from a database or any other systems, right? So the triggering point is one, and which kind of system it can go and get data is the second one. So which system you are connecting and getting the data is kind of common in various these 5 integration type, but the way it triggered And because of that, what are the use cases you can do is differing based on the triggering types. So in this particular case, the automation can be used, commonly used as an ETL. For example, in a bank, at the end of the day, there are files coming from your partners, etc. You might have to extract out some details, set off the balances, and so on. So those kind of processes can be done using automations, or it can be any batch processes or batch task you want to do, etc. can be done using the automations. Then the AI agents is kind of, again, the triggering point of view, it might be triggered using an event or triggered by using a chat interface, etc. But the way it processes the corresponding message is different from all other integration types. All other integration types are kind of deterministic, where you as a programmer knows what the logic has to be, and you would have coded that particular knowledge in a particular way. But in the case of AI agent, the logic is very non-deterministic, right? And basically, we will not know what are the services available, what are the services we can use in order to get the task done. So you attach all that particular services available as a tool, so as a way of AI agent to use. But based on the context, based on what has happened up to now versus what the user want to do as of now, it can decide which services or which systems to interact with in order to get the job done. So that particular logic is, nobody can prescribe beforehand. It depends on the context plus as of that particular point. So the AI agents help you to connect these systems together and then provide that particular interface. Again, like this particular orange color buttons or orange color lines indicate how the integration is triggered. One interface is through a chat interface, might come through an API gateway or etc. It might be exposed as an API and people can use it. Or it can come from a event broker, like some event happens, like for example, if there is a intrusion happens, what do you want to do when there is an intrusion? So possibly you might have to notify several people and so on. So based on events as well, the agents can react and can send out data. Then the other one is the common item people do, like you interconnect multiple systems together and then expose it as an API. So basically, either a REST API or SOAP API or GraphQL or etc. You interconnected the services or systems, or you created a new functionality, new composite service, and then can expose it as an API for the other people to expose, other people to invoke. Often you might expose this particular API using an API manager product as well. So that is the line shown here. But the use cases are like, if you want to do multiple processes, multi-step processes, like for example, when a person comes to a bank and want to open a loan, there are multiple steps involved in that particular process, have to talk to various systems together. When the request comes, then you might have to talk to various systems, then create the loan request and send back the response. So that is a multi-step process. The composite service, again, possibly you might have multiple services. You might want to combine them and expose it as a service. Or if you are writing multiple front ends, you might want to expose some of the backend functionalities as a front end or as a GraphQL service and so on. Then the event-based integrations are triggered by some availability of events. Often it might involve a broker, either event broker or message broker, like a RabbitMQ, ActiveMQ. When there is a message comes, your integration is triggered. And some cases it might be triggered using other system as well, like Salesforce has a eventing kind of an architecture as well. So possibly when there is a opportunity created, it might trigger out an event, and you can automate some processes around that particular event. Or there might be some database changes happen, and you might want to trigger an event based on that using change data capture and then can do the integration. Again, the way it is triggered might be from an event, but obviously it can connect to any other system like file system, blah, blah stuff, and can do the integrations. Then the file-based integrations are triggered with the availability of a file. Again, we looked at previous case where the ETL process, again, this is an example, another example of an ETL process. Sometimes you might do the ETL process based on a timer, on a particular period, or like end of the day process, etc. In some other cases, you might do the ETL process when the file is available, you might want to do an ETL process. So one variation of the event-based integration. So some integration you might have to do based on event occurs at that point. For example, when there is a order received, based on the order event, you might want to do some integrations. But there are some other cases involved with a stream of events. That is also possible in WSO2 Integrator. So for example, if like we are sampling the temperature of this particular room every 1 minute, for example. And during the 5 minutes interval, if the temperature is varying by 1 degree, send out a notification for the hotel maintenance people to come and adjust the AC, something like that, right? They are the event, or where the automation you want to do is based on a stream of events, and you find either one stream or multiple stream, then find some patterns within that particular stream and can trigger some of the events. So in order to do that, we have software, open source software called WSO2 Integrator. That is the main topic of this particular talk. But we also have an iPaaS available with the similar capabilities or same capabilities called Devant. So the next talk by Manu will cover more details on the Devant side, but in this particular talk, I will cover on the WSO2 Integrator. So the WSO2 Integrator architecture, at its core, the developers use the VS Code plugin, VS Code tool, in order to do the integrations. And they can deploy to some of the runtimes like BI. It's a new runtime we released on last April, which is providing low-code and pro-code facilities. Or they can use MI. MI is a runtime you are using for a long time. You can do the integrations by using drag and drop low-code experience. And the SI is the streaming integration capabilities. Again, as I mentioned previously, if you want to do some integrations capabilities based on a set of streams, then you can use the SI runtime in order to do that. So during the development time, possibly you might deploy directly to the runtime, but in most cases, in the case of production cases, you might go through a CI/CD layer, which will deploy to one of these runtime. And then we have some other component called ICP, which is the control plane, controlling all the, managing and controlling all the runtime aspects of the runtimes. And can use that to monitor and manage all the runtimes. And we have several connectors, like 600 connectors in order to connect to various systems. Again, the runtimes can use the connector architecture to connect to any of the third-party systems. And there are several features available to generate connectors using OpenAPI or SOAP services, so you can hand edit connectors, etc. as well. And then you can use any other observability tools as well as part of monitoring and managing. We send using OpenTelemetry protocol. So any tools using OpenTelemetry can be used as part of the observability. So let's cover very high-level details about the features of Integrator. First is, we provide AI-assisted development, as I mentioned in the AI for integration side. Basically, we provide a co-pilot, BI co-pilot and MI co-pilot, in order for you to explain the integrations in natural language, and that can generate the integrations for you. whoever attended the tutorials yesterday would have gone through, and then I hope Shafrin will also cover a bit detail on this. It's not only generating, but you can interact with the Copilot on a continuous basis in order to modify the integrations or modify other functionalities as well. And also, like similar to like how you use when you are trying to code using GitHub Copilot, etc., it suggests some of the suggestions. We have implemented a low-code suggestion feature as well. So when you are using a low-code editor and drag and drop items, based on the context and based on the problem, it will auto-suggest what are the other possible constructs we can use, etc. as well. And then basically, even the data mapping, etc., you can use natural language. Again, data mapping is one of the primary requirements in any of the integration problems. So if you have a source schema or source type and the target type when you are connecting two systems, then the AI can help you to analyze the source and the target and do auto wiring together and provide it and suggest how the mapping has to be done. And also test case generations, documentation generation, etc., can be done using the AI. And as I mentioned, we have 600 plus connectors for various systems, and we have improved the experience of generating the connector through the tooling itself, so that if you have a service which has a description like OpenAPI or SOAP description, etc., WSO2, etc., you can just import it, and that will generate a connector which you can use in your integration. And you can also build several intelligent digital experiences as part of this. Again, Shafrin will cover more details on that. You can either just directly call an LLM, or you can do RAG, or you can use like AI agents, etc., as part of the platform. So now let me go into the details of what is coming new. So some of the features we have released in last couple of weeks or last month, or etc. So I'll cover them so that people who are using these components will know what is to expect in this coming weeks, etc. So first thing is basically we are concentrating, or we are spending a lot of time improving the overall developer experience, and especially on some of the event and file integration capabilities with the event-driven architecture as well as file-based integrations. So there are tons of improvements have been done in the BI component in order to support the file and event integrations. Then also, like when we are connecting from one system to another, basically there are some improvements on the developer experience side of connecting with various systems. The data mapping UI user experience has gone at drastic changes over the last couple of weeks. So basically, there are lots of new features available as part of the data mapping user experiences. As part of the user data mapping, you also have to create the types. For example, in any of the integration systems, possibly you might work with XML-based system, so CSV-based system, so JSON-based system, and so on. So what BI allows you to bring all of that different data types and create a type system within your integrations, so that either you can reuse as well as you can use it in data mapping capabilities. So there are lots of improvement on that area as well. And one of the important aspect of integrations is when you have integrations and you use it in various environments, you need to externalize some of the configurations, like your username, password, or some secrets, etc., has to be externalized so that you can provide different values for different environments. You might want to connect to a sandbox environment, on a development environment. But in the case of productions, you might want to connect to a production system, or even the username, password, etc. In the development environment, you might give a dummy username, password. In the production, it's controlled by the SRE team or DevOps team, and they have to provide a very strong credentials. So in order to facilitate that, there are several config editor experiences improvement, so that people can use the integrations and the integrator in order to provide the configurations. Then AI features, we are doing lots of improvement into the AI feature. First one is as part of the Copilot, you can now use multimodal, like it's not only text, but you can also upload other files like PDFs or even image files, etc. So that as part of explaining the integration problem, you can add additional details through other files. Then we are improving some of the building blocks in order to simplify the RAG applications like ingestions as well as retrieval. A lot more building blocks to provide a first-class capabilities there. Then MCP is becoming more and more widely adopted. So we have implemented MCP capabilities as well. We have created building blocks for you to create MCP server as well as MCP client within the integrator. So there are some libraries released or libraries done in order to provide that building blocks. Also, like we released this agent support in April this year. But with the recent release, you can also attach MCP servers as part of tool support within the agent. So Shafrin, I believe, will cover some details on that end as well. And also like direct LLM calls, what we used to provide is a chat interface, but that is kind of like in and out kind of an experience. But now we have another API as well for you to directly call an LLM. This is to simplify some of the use cases on the direct LLM calls. And one of the feedback customers have given us was the BI Copilot as well as MI Copilot. They are using the cloud-hosted model, like we use the cloud-hosted models. So what we have done is now you can use customer purchased or customer hosted LLM models as part of the BI Copilot and MI Copilot. BI Copilot is already released, MI Copilot support is coming soon. But basically you can use a customer or custom hosted model in order to use it, so that none of the data, none of the secret data ever leaves your control, does not go into the cloud services. And also we have done tons of work on migration tools from some other vendors like Mule and TIBCO, etc. Again, as part of the migration strategy talk, Isru will cover some more bit details about the migration tools. Then MI, again, MI is a component we were using for a long time, which is very much stable, etc. And the next release is going to be on 4.50, which will come on September 2025. Again, there are tons of new features coming as part of the MI component. Again, we are revamping the file listener and sender. As I mentioned previously, the file integrations and the event integrations, we are giving a lot more effort and a lot more focus in order to fix various experiences as well as improving the coverage of the functionality. So as part of that, the file listener and the sender improvements will come. And then some improvements on the API course features, etc. So ability to configure the course capabilities per API. Previously, it has to be configured at the global level. Now, in the new versions, you can configure them at the API level, etc. And then some new protocols like Jakarta messaging, etc. These are like some low-level details on what are the features coming. We also implemented a static code analysis tool based on, Synapse static code analysis. So based on the integrations you have done in MI component, we can analyze the code and see whether there are any problems, etc. So one of the problem is like since MI is using a DSL driven, it's a low code experience. So if you have hand edited anything and have cause any problems, eventually that's an XML representation of the DSL. So if there are any modifications done which is syntactically wrong, but it's a valid XML, it was a bit hard to identify. But the static code analyzer is kind of identifying those kind of problems if you have made any mistakes while you are hand editing the configurations. And then we have several Ballerina connectors we have done. That is what used in the BI module. Now we have a wrapper around. You can bring any Ballerina modules or Ballerina libraries or BI modules into MI by using the wrapper. So again, this particular feature is bridging the gap between the BI and MI to some level so that you can mix and match both of them when you are building the integrations. And then gRPC is one of the kind of upcoming common protocol in an internal integrations kind of a scenario. So that support is also coming in September. The versioning support, project dependency support, etc., is how you build the integrations in MI. Previously, it's based on the car file, etc., but we are rethinking some of the experiences of how do we implement the integrations by versioning them, etc., in the case of MI. And Graal VM, again, this is in order to improve the performance of the integrations. Possibly you can compile them into a Graal VM. So that support we are implementing now. At the same time, like Kubernetes artifacts from the VS Code or from the tooling itself, you can export Kubernetes artifacts for the MI component. And then SI is again, we are using it for a long time. There are several customers who are using. So SI, we used to have a different web editor in order to create the streaming integrations. The SI component is used to build the streaming integrations, basically finding the patterns or finding the kind of a window within the streams, some patterns within that particular windows within the stream. So basically, we are moving all that tooling capabilities within the VS Code itself so that people can use single tooling in order to do all integrations using BIO, MIO, SI, etc. So this is coming sometime this week. Devant, I'll briefly touch, but Manu will cover in the next talk. Basically, Devant also is an iPaaS we released on last April. We primarily use the desktop VS Code as a way of creating the integration, but we are also releasing a web editor, which is a VS Code hosted web editor, which is already available as part of the feature flag now. So if you are using Devant or if you are trying out Devant, you can go to the feature flag and can enable. But it will be available in GA pretty soon, in a couple of weeks' time. At the same time, we are also kind of a dedicated EU deployment. This is again for EU customers who are requesting for data locality, etc. So we are having a EU deployment for the data plane for Devant, which is already available as of today. And I'll quickly run through some of the roadmap. Again, our plan is to release 2 releases per year. Each of the component will have 2 releases per year. One is in March, one is in September. And some of the component like BI and Devant we are actively working on. That will be a continuous release. It will be released on a weekly basis or daily basis, etc. But other components we will release 2 releases per year. Again, from a feature point of view, we are concentrating on developer experiences a lot, how to simplify the creation of integrations, etc. So developer experience is our number one focus. And then event-based and file-based integration, as I mentioned, there are still ongoing work going on, but we are overall improving the experiences and performance of file-based and event-based integrations. And the final item is like we are improving a lot on the monitoring and management aspect. So we will release a ICP, which is the control plane version 2 on next March. Together with that, we recently acquired a company called Mosif. Again, we are integrating closely with Mosif as well. Mosif is an API analytics and monetization platform, but they also have observability features, etc. So we are having close integrations with Mosif as part of that. And basically better insights for event and file-based integrations, etc. At the moment, we have lots of insights for API-driven integrations like REST and GraphQL services, but not much of insights for file event-based integrations.